I don't engage in hypotheticals. What does it mean to not engage in hypotheticals? Well, a hypothetical situation is a situation in which you ask, what if? What if this happens? That's a hypothetical situation. So for a person to say, I don't engage in hypotheticals, what they mean to say is, if it's not happening right now, if it's not really happening, there's no reason for me to solve it. Which is a very unwise mentality to live by. It's a very unwise philosophy to live by. What that would mean is that if there's no fire right now, or there's no reason why I would be trying to put out a fire. If I'm not getting mugged right now, there's no reason why I would be planning to learn self-defense. If you don't have any diseases right now, then there's no need to worry about your health. There's no reason for you to take care of your health. If you don't need any money right this instant, there's no reason for you to be working. If you're not having an accident right now, there's no reason for you to buy car insurance, because all those situations that are not happening right now, your house is not on fire, you're not getting mugged right now, they're all hypothetical. They're not happening. There's no reason for you to ask, what would I do if this stuff would happen? Because it's not happening right now. And if we really lived by this philosophy, there wouldn't be any reason why we have fire extinguishers. There wouldn't be any reason why we have health insurance or car insurance. There wouldn't be any reason for us to wear seatbelts or helmets or knee pads, because all these things you do in order to prepare for a situation that may or may not happen. There wouldn't be any reason for us to have a savings account or a retirement plan, because you're not old right now. Why would you want retirement money when you're not even old? And what this plays into is preparedness. For you to consider hypothetical situations, for you to engage in hypothetical situations, it means that you're trying to be prepared for that situation. And if you don't think of hypothetical situations, those are situations that you will not be prepared for. You're saying that you will not prepare for those situations. Now, of course, you're free to have your own philosophy in life, and if you want to live a life, a happy-go-lucky life where you just live in the moment itself, you're not worrying about the future or the past, you're not worrying about anything that's going on outside of your vicinity, outside of your sight, then yeah, that would be the thing that you do. You would not think about anything. You wouldn't ask yourself, what if such and such would happen? Because those situations are not happening right now. They're not real until they become real, right? But for the moment, you have nothing to worry about. Why waste time trying to think of these things that are not happening right now? So it is very unwise to ignore these hypothetical situations, because these situations are stuff that may happen. Even though they're not happening right now, they can happen. And the more you think about those situations, the more prepared you are to deal with those situations. It's basically just thinking about them and preparing for them just in case. That's the key word. To engage in hypotheticals, to deal with hypothetical situations, is to prepare in case, just in case this situation were to happen. What if it rains? You take an umbrella even though if it's not raining, because it might rain. What if your engine breaks down? Do you call a tow truck? What if you get a flat tire? That's why you carry a spare tire, in case you get a flat tire. You have a spare tire just in case you come across a hypothetical situation in which your tire goes flat. So in essence, to say that you don't engage in hypotheticals basically means that you have a personal value to not be ready for things. You reject being ready for situations, for things that are not happening in the moment. If it's not happening right now, you don't deal with it. And that puts you in a very vulnerable situation, because you're not ready for anything. That means that you have no defenses, you have no plan in case something goes wrong. And if you become a target of somebody, if somebody's trying to attack you or take advantage of you or steal your stuff, you have nothing to protect yourself with, because you never thought about those situations. So it's important to engage in hypothetical situations, because by engaging in them, by engaging in these possibilities, you prepare yourself to deal with those situations. But then there's the other extreme of dealing with hypotheticals, and that is when you are thinking about too many hypotheticals. What if you walk outside and you get abducted by aliens? What if you fall asleep and you never wake up? What if by hanging out with your friends, they will all conspire against you and try to kill you? What if the food you're about to eat is actually poisoned? What if there's a million tiny dragons in your garage and they're waiting for you to go in there so they could burn you alive? What if the floor outside is made out of lava and you just can't see it because a wizard has blinded you to it and it makes you see everything as if it was normal? But if you would step outside, it would burn your foot and you would fall into it and you would die. And so this is what happens when you engage in too many hypotheticals and you decide to engage in things that to many people would seem highly unlikely. Now, here's the issue, that when you engage in too many hypotheticals, too many of these scenarios, you run the risk of inhibiting yourself, of letting the fear of all these things inhibit yourself. And this state of mind has a name. It's called analysis paralysis, or paralysis of analysis. So this means that when you spend your time analyzing situations too much, that you don't make any decisions and you basically are paralyzed and you stay in one place and you never do anything because you're too worried about taking any risk and you're too worried about hypotheticals that may never happen. And so when you're thinking about hypotheticals, these type of hypotheticals, you may decide to not engage in those hypotheticals because it takes time to engage in hypotheticals. And if these situations are too unlikely, and if these hypotheticals are too unlikely, there's no reason why you would spend any time engaging in them, because that would just be time wasted. You could be doing better stuff. You could be moving forward with other decisions. You can be trying to figure out other hypotheticals that are more likely and that you should be prepared for, instead of dealing with stuff that is highly unlikely. But are these other things, are they actually unlikely? So, for example, what if you're walking on the side of the road one day and a lawnmower launches a metal pipe at you and hits you in the head and you die? Now that seems pretty unlikely, right? There's no reason why you would prepare for that. There's no reason why you would engage in that hypothetical. But this actually happened to a man in Australia in 2010. What if you're driving down the road and a bear flies in through your windshield? Why would you have to think of such a hypothetical? That would never happen, right? But actually this did happen in Canada. A couple was driving down the road and the flying bear came in through their windshield and killed them both. What if you go on vacation one day and you stay at a hotel and you go to sleep and you just never wake up? Well, why would you worry about something like that? It's so unlikely to happen. What would cause that? But this actually happens a lot in motels and hotels. Sometimes there are hotels that have neglect their safety standards, their carbon monoxide detection, and for that reason there's been plenty of deaths that are caused by that. So you may think that, oh yeah, that would never happen, but these things do happen. The point is that with all these things that we consider unlikely, that we think that we don't have to worry about, there are instances in which they do actually happen. So, you can't just dismiss the possibility of something not happening just because it's so far-fetched, like, oh, that would never happen. Because, you can look at the list of 1,000 ways to die, very unusual situations that you would think that would never happen. Of course they would never happen. There's no reason why you would worry that they would ever happen until it happens to you. And all these possibilities, you getting abducted by aliens, you not being able to step outside because there might be wizards that are controlling your mind, or maybe you're just hallucinating that there's flat ground when you're about to walk off a building. There's all these possibilities, there's all these hypotheticals that you think you can dismiss, but you never really know if something is safe or not. So, does that mean that you should think of all the hypotheticals possible to make sure that you're safe? No. Because doing that is not going to get you anywhere. There's too many things in life that you wouldn't be able to consider all these things. You wouldn't be able to prepare yourself for all the possible situations that you could encounter in life. You would literally be paralyzed just thinking in your bed. And of course, for some people, living and taking risks is a priority, and for other people, safety is a priority. And depending on what you want to prioritize, depending on if you want to prioritize your safety or if you want to prioritize your freedom. You will decide to be ready for certain situations, and you will decide to not be ready for other situations and just take risks. So how do you keep yourself from going into paralysis of analysis? How do you move forward from this? And the answer is not in disregarding certain possibilities, certain situations, and it's not in disbelieving that something could ever happen, because as unlikely as some things may seem, you will find out that there's always a possibility that they could always happen. The answer is not in not believing, just getting that out of your head. Oh, you would never get abducted by aliens. There's so much about the world that we don't know that dismissing these things does us no good. It's not wise to do that, because there's so much out there that we don't know. It's unwise to claim that things are impossible. And as we've known, as humanity has evolved, as humanity has developed with new technology, with greater knowledge, things that at one point seemed impossible are now very possible. So who's to say that some things are impossible and that some things would never happen? So how do you deal with these things? The solution is not in disbelieving, and it's not in disregarding certain possibilities. It's not in ignoring them, because if you ignore things, that's when you leave yourself vulnerable. The solution is in deciding, is in prioritizing. What are you going to choose? How do you choose to live your life? What are you going to choose to worry about and to not worry about? Are you going to live your life by actually doing things, by actually being out there, or are you going to live your life by worrying? And maybe there are some things that you decide, these are things that I feel like I have to be prepared for, and I will only be prepared for this much, and the rest, if there's aliens out there and they decide to destroy the whole world, or if they decide to kidnap me and replace me, or if there's some demon out there that possesses me and it controls my body and I'm stuck in the subconscious corner of my mind, if there's anything like that, when that happens, I'll allow myself to lose in that situation, just for the sake of me not having to worry about that situation right now. Just for the sake of me being able to live without that worry, I am going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to worry about that, because thinking about hypotheticals, preparing yourself for these other things, it does take time and it does take stress for you to try to figure all these things out. But in the end, you have to decide what's worth spending your time on, what's worth investing yourself in, and what is not. If you don't carry a fire extinguisher in your house and all of a sudden there's a fire in your house, you might not be prepared, but at least that was your decision to not be prepared. Because having a fire extinguisher in the house, you might have to worry about continuously making sure that it works. And you decide to free yourself from that responsibility. And when there's a fire in your house, you should just be happy with the outcome. Yes, a fire broke out in the house. Maybe everything's burnt down right now, or I had difficulty putting out the fire, but at least all these days I didn't have to worry about carrying a fire extinguisher with me wherever I go. So you kind of have to find a balance within yourself. You have to decide what's worth thinking about, what's worth preparing for, and what's not. How are you going to live your life? Do you think you can make it through life without worrying about anything? Would you rather live your life unprepared and just enjoy things, or would you rather prepare so much that you're not able to enjoy anything? You kind of have to find a balance. You kind of have to do the calculations yourself and decide what's worth and what's not worth it. And it's all about what you want to do. You can sacrifice your normal life just so that you can make sure that you are very prepared in case there's an alien abduction. And when you get abducted by aliens, you will be most ready to face that situation. But at the same time, you sacrifice having a normal life, you don't have any money, and you're probably living in your mom's basement. That's fine, but it's all up to you. If you want to sacrifice your dignity and your freedom and your independence for the sake of doing all these things, then it's up to you. And so someday, if you get kidnapped by a gang of cowboy clowns that are trying to steal your pocket lint and stick it in your eyeballs, you can look back and say, wow, I'm so glad that I never had a stable job. I'm so glad that I did all that research. I'm so glad that I didn't go to school and instead did all that research on these cowboy clowns, so that now that it's actually happening, I know I'm prepared to face these guys, and I know that I'm gonna get through this, and those cowboy clowns have nothing on me. And on the other hand, you can decide to neglect the possibility of cowboy clowns kidnapping you, and you can decide to put that away and say, you know what, it's a risk, it might happen, but I'm gonna decide to not worry about it because there's other things that I care about. I want to have a job. I want to keep my dignity. I want to be able to take on this profession, or I want to be able to go to school and be a doctor so I could help people instead of worrying about cowboy clowns or aliens or dragon slaying. But you know, there might be a day in which you might get kidnapped by cowboy clowns, and you're not going to know what to do. But you know, it really all just depends on how you want to live your life and what hypotheticals you want to engage in, what reality you want to move your life towards, what things you want to care about, what things you want to be prepared for, and what things you're deciding to not care about just so that you can do other things with your life.